All right, let's talk about Chris Jones. This season started with him not playing in the season opener, ends with him winning a Super Bowl. Obviously, he held out to start the year, did get a contract that he was satisfied with, and has a huge impact in them winning a Super Bowl here. Did a lot of stuff. I actually thought he did a lot of stuff with the running game, which, passing game is always what's going to get the attention for a defensive lineman. It is what it is. But the running game is really important too, and what he was able to do, I think, was really impactful. So this play, for example, going to be a one-on-one matchup against a guard. And when it begins, it's not looking like, terrible for the offensive lineman here. I mean, for Jones, he is going to be trying to get a little bit closer towards the middle of the field to make the tackle, as that is where the running back on this play is going to be going. It's actually Deebo Samuel who is going to be taking the handoff on this play, interestingly enough. But for Jones, again, several ways he could go about this. But what's so good about him and what makes him so special is his hands. And that's what he's going to show off on this play. Really, watch his left hand here. Watch how he is going to be able to, get off that block just enough to reach out, make that tackle. And, again, there was other help. It wasn't just him, but he was able to, be a part of it. And again, when it comes to run defense, it's never just one guy. It's the most team sport aspect of a very much team sport game in football, and what he's able to do on that play and what his teammates are able to do was definitely key. Also heading over to something like this. So it's going to happen on this play. It's a 2nd down and 9 situation. And again, you see where he is on the screen. And this is just going to be an incredible play where it's actually going to be the right tackle, Colton McKivitz, who's going to try and block him. But watch how, he just completely sidesteps both players who ran in front of him. And now he's in a spot where he's more or less unblocked. Again, this wasn't unblocked by design. This was just he was able to move so quickly that the guy trying to block him is now like, oh crap, I got to make something happen. Also, watch how he finishes off this play, goes over and makes a tackle. And then, hey, on a 2nd down and 9, it gets to a 3rd down and large as well. This is back-to-back weeks where the team that lost to the Chiefs, people are criticizing them for not running the ball more in specific spots. The Ravens, I guess I should say back-to-back games because they didn't play last week, but the Ravens in the conference championship game, obviously people were saying, well, why didn't they run the ball more? Well, because it wasn't really working. The 49ers had some success running the ball in this game, but not a ton. The passing game worked for the 49ers, but the running game really, didn't work out that well. And a big part of it was because of what Chris Jones was able to do. Of course, he did have some key impact plays in the passing game. Something like this was definitely something that got the attention of everybody. So, going to be going up one-on-one against the guard. And again, what's tricky for the 49ers and what's tricky for a pass rusher, if you're trying to pass rush the 49ers, is, heading into this game, you looked at both offensive lines and said, yeah, there's some issues here. Both offensive line have some, holes that potentially could be a problem. But usually what the 49ers do is they run enough play actions that it makes it harder to pass rush. You don't know what's coming right away. And also when they run the ball, then, you're getting tired as a defensive lineman, all that stuff. But on this play, watch how despite the play action, Jones is going to be able to get around pretty quickly, and he's ready to create a pressure on Purdy. So, again, good stuff at this point, but really kind of how he finishes is definitely going to be what makes this play. Watch as he's able to finish strong. He does create contact, and you have to imagine that disrupted that play and did not allow a touchdown there. Now, the 49ers would go on to still score a touchdown on this drive, so didn't end up working out too well, but again, at the time, it was a huge play and definitely could have been a game changer had the Chiefs gotten off the field on the 4th down they had a little bit later on. And either way, it was a great play by Jones. It just was. Granted, for San Francisco, I have some notes. I have some critiques, I have to say. So a play like this, this was the key play. This was like the key play in the season, really. A 3rd down and 4 here, tied game in overtime. You see where Jones is. And watch how just nobody's going to pick him up. There was a pressure, but there was enough players to block. That was just a bad play. Again, good job by Steve Spagnuolo due to blitz, get guys out of position. And I think actually the guard more so moved out of the way because of the play action. But really, quite frankly, I would just say that was a miscommunication. A miscommunication happened, which resulted in Chris Jones getting right to Purdy. And again, give credit to Chris Jones, made the most of his opportunity. But again, these things don't just work one way. It's not just one player doing good. Usually there has to be errors on the other side of things. And definitely, I would say this was a bad job by the 49ers here. Like, you can't lose Chris Jones. Also, just in more subtle ways, like things like this where, that's where he is on the field. And this is something that, you don't get any credit for, and definitely no one's going to give you any extra credit. No one's going to, your PFF grade isn't going to get bumped up higher. Whatever system you use to evaluate defensive linemen, this isn't going to help in any grading system. But when you watch the tape, that you have to wonder how much this matters. Where watch what happens on this play. It's not a play. The guard that's lined up on Jones false starts, and is that an aspect of Chris Jones? I think so. I do. I think if I was trying to line up to block Chris Jones, I'd probably false start at least once in a football game. So, I do think that, again, so much of a defensive lineman's value isn't just the actual value they're bringing to the table. A lot of it can be the threat of what they can do. Something like this is a good example of it, which, again, big play in the game at this point. This is when the 49ers couldn't stop going 3 and out. And you see where Jones is. He's an edge rusher on this play because that's what they do. They don't just leave Chris Jones on the inside. On a lot of third downs especially, they will have him go towards the outside. Again, there was that one thing maybe a couple years ago when they were trying to just have him as a pure edge rusher. That didn't work out as well. He's much better as an interior defensive lineman, but then just kick him out on specific situations. And watch how on his play, it's not like some crazy win or anything, but you see a guard is going to help out Chris Jones, which you usually don't do when it's an edge rusher. Usually you kind of have the tackle kind of one-on-one block, or you bring in a tight end or a running back. What's even crazier about this, though, is not only is he getting this much extra attention, but it's Trent Williams who he's going up against, the guy who's kind of known for being the best tackle in football, by far. And they're like, yeah, okay, Williams is great, but we don't want to leave Chris Jones one-on-one. So that's impressive in itself, even if, nothing else was happening. But other stuff is happening. You see that the other Kansas City players who now have, extra, more favorable matchups because of the attention Chris Jones gets, they are in position where they're disrupting Purdy. I'm not saying that Purdy has, a disastrous situation or anything, but definitely it's enough to, I think, get him off his game a little bit. As you see, Purdy throws it up to Kittle in kind of a weird situation there. Not a lot of opens, so I don't know exactly what to make of all of that, but kind of a weird play at the end. But at the end of the day, really good stuff there with the threat of Chris Jones, and also good coverage because, again, all of it plays together, of course. So, again, for Chris Jones, it's kind of the story a lot of times for Chris Jones in some of these big games is he doesn't always get the, stats that you might expect. Again, depends on which kind of statistics you look at, right, and how deep do you go into it. What are you looking at? Advanced stats? Or are you just looking at the box score stats? Only 2 tackles and no sacks. So definitely you can look at that and say, oh wow, didn't get on the stat sheet. But let's be honest, this was a really good day by Chris Jones. Made a big impact. That's what I think about all of this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.